Hey, well, howdy everybody. Thanks for joining my campfire. It's Bobby Angel here, and yeah, I have another campfire concert here in the middle of the big Cypress, and as for my exact location, I can give that to you. It's you see there in the distance, there's that dome. It looks like a hill, but it's a dome. It's actually the low spot where the water still is, and then we're looking across the marl prairie. That's kind of, it's soggy to walk through. There's really not much water in it right now. And I'm up on the pineland and cleared out a spot and have a campfire going. And it's just good to be here. And I wanted to talk about my new album. And the new album's name is Big Cypress Bound. It's my third album. And I thought there's no better place to announce its release than at a campfire in the Big Cypress and maybe sing a song or, three about it, if we get to that. Sometimes it's the thing about a Bobby Angel campfire, I just get to talking so much, I kind of lose track, that I have to actually sing a song. And that's why I brought the guitar along. I think it's here, sometimes I forget to bring the guitar. And that's a shame because I don't have much of a voice. And the only way I can really harmonize is with the guitar there and with the crackle. I think I harmonized really good with the crackle of the campfire. So the name of the album is Big Cypress Bound, and it just made sense to host it here. And, my first album was New Pangea. I released it a couple years back, and it was a collection of farewell songs, kind of thanking or an homage to people that had made a positive contribution to some aspect of protecting nature. And that's kind of my style. I'm a nature folk troubadour. That's what inspires me to write a song. I usually sing it to the guy or gal that's leaving, and at a farewell party or so. And I thought, why don't we put these in a collection so we can sing them more than once? And that's the idea. And it's called New Pangea. And, I encourage you to go to the bobbyangel.org website, and you can listen to the whole album. And in the nature folk tradition, I have an interview between every song. So it's a pretty extensive listen. I think you might enjoy it. And my second album was green. The second album was the Green Album. And I didn't really name it. It was just, the album was green, and everybody started calling it the Green Album. There was one guy that, he kept saying it was the Blue Album. And I didn't get that, but the Green Album stuck. So anyhow, let's get to the first song here, and then we'll of the new album, and we'll talk about it afterwards. So without further ado, let's go to a song. Pretty Boy and the Gunpowder, Ode to a River. Your gunpowder, it didn't blow, and so you went on your way, past the trail where the train once ran, besides a bridge that washed away. Weren't you the next big thing, as guaranteed as anything? Now look at you today, ruins overrun. Such a pretty boy you were, born in Jerusalem, spinning water at your wheel into rifles for the coming war, outfitting old Henry's fort further down the Locust Point, where cannons kept ships at bay and sent them in retreat. High above the eagle's sword, as bulldozers built the wall for Pretty Boy to fill its banks, diverted all to city streets, an edict of the new ruling crown. And so you laid your rifle down, surrendering gunpowder for dreams of gasoline. Over time you silted in, and so your dreams slipped away. A blessing now looking back, how so little things have ever changed. Further up you want it all, only to somehow lose. Pretty Boy only flows these days to highways of concrete.
Gunpowder long since relapsed to a cascade of small rapids other than logs holding back waters where beavers swim at night. Protected as a county park, you can still go there today and listen to the bluegrass play or walk the covered bridge. Life is good on the old rail trail long after they all moved away. Its waters, they never slowed on their steady fall into the bay. Pretty boy doesn't have much to say, just keeps it all inside. From a flooded paper mill to the Mason-Dixon line.
You know, I know what you're thinking. That song's a little bit of a curveball, but it made it on the album. Gunpowder and Pretty Boy. Gunpowder and Pretty Boy. It is actually a song about a river I grew up in Maryland. And that's the thing, you know, Big Cypress bound. Bound from where? Maybe I was bound from Maryland. And that is a river system that resonates in my, you know, in my mind and my heart. And I was up there recently, and my brother and I were doing some hiking, and I kind of, you know, along the trail started thinking of some lyrics, and I thought there's a story to be told here, because the gunpowder is kind of the forgotten. There is a cultural history on the landscape, just like in the Everglades and the Big Cypress. You know, the landscape was worked before it got preserved. And on the gunpowder, you hike it today and you think, oh gosh, this is a place where, you know, has been a refuge for nature. But that was originally where the settlers moved in. It's originally where they had the water-powered mills. It's where they made the rifles that helped defend the nation in the Revolutionary War and then the War of 1812. It was the hardest working river, you know, they're one of the hardest working rivers in the nation. And then what happened, you know, the downstream the downstream estuary kind of silted in a little bit, and before you knew it, there was a rail trail along it, and then there is a rail trail along it today. But there used to be a railroad along it, and it was kind of the center of the energy that if you were all these towns you thought were on the path of progress, 100, 200 years later, they're just a ghost town. And that's where the Pretty Boy Reservoir came in. You know, upstream, they dammed it up, and that became the water supply for the urban areas over in Baltimore, and Baltimore became the big port. So the gunpowder downstream kind of got forgotten, and Pretty Boy won in some ways. You know, it kind of got all the love and all, but, you know, the word is the Pretty Boy sends all of its water to concrete and highways, and meanwhile the gunpowder's returned to nature. So it's a good kind of, it's as if the river was talking to itself. That's, I think, what I like about that song. It's the river having a conversation with itself, like, hey, look at me, remember I used to be all these mills down here, water-powered mills, but I returned to nature, and look at you up there, you're just a big dam holding back the water, don't have much to say anymore. So well, there you have it. Maybe, so you name an album, and that's the thing about an album. You know, an album isn't Big Cypress bound and every song's about the Big Cypress. I don't think that is, maybe it should be that way. Maybe I did it wrong. And that's something to talk about in front of the campfire. But before we get to that topic, and, you know, don't be too hard on me. I only know 3 chords, you know, so don't be too critical about, you know, that I included a song. The thing about Maryland, you know, everybody kind of cuts on Maryland and like, look at that funny shape on that state. And sure enough, Maryland lost every territorial battle with the nearby states, and that's why it looks like a kind of a turkey leg that somebody ate all the meat off of. You know, but Maryland could have been a lot bigger, and I'm not saying it's ever going to change its shape, its size. You know, also with the Chesapeake Bay running up there, it kind of gives it, you know, less land than it would normally have, and that's a good thing because we love the Chesapeake Bay. And I just love getting up. My brother, we got these cold crabs when we were up there. You can get them freshly steamed, but then if people don't pick up their orders, you get them the next day for $1 a crab, and you eat them, and you just make a big mess of all the carapace and the shells, and it's just a real unique experience in Maryland. But Yeah, so Maryland is a special spot, and it always will be in my heart because that's where I'm from. And then the Big Cypress is even more special, because that's where I ended up. It's where you end up sometimes that you even get to know better. So it's good to have maybe two homes out there. Well, without further ado, maybe let's go to the next song.
Stranded with brandy in that golden town, as we danced the Macarena and we turned the beat around and kept our clothes on Electric Avenue, where we let go of all 99 balloons, listening to Debbie play D-Light's groove. If initial success is the kiss of death, I'm not gonna wait around and hold my breath at what may or may not happen next, or care if I fail every test. I'm a one-hit wonder wrecking machine, flopping out the flips like you never seen, until a smash turns me into smithereens. All it took was one look, nothing compares to you. Let's head to Funky Town and rock and roll part 2. We'll do the hustle with Dexy and whip it on the wild side, through a big country out in the summertime, as we chase down that great spirit up in the sky. Oh, when you get to the station, are you ever satisfied, or do you hop a train for another ride across the bridge to the other side, not caring what you leave behind? Oh, I'm a one-hit wonder wrecking machine, flipping out the flops like you never seen, until the smash turns me into smithereens. 96 tears from a tainted love, it's a bittersweet symphony, and it's time to let the dogs out, 'cause they're talking Japanese. Be happy and don't worry, we all are love fools, and the future, it's so bright, I'm gonna melt with you. Take on me, you get what you give, no rain, said Fred. Oh, is it ever really worth it when you get to the end? Or do you have your eyes up around the bend at a new mountain that lies ahead, ready to do it again and again? Oh, I'm a one-hit wonder wrecking machine, flipping out the flops like you never seen, until the smash turns me into smithereens. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, there it happened again. That song had nothing to do with the Big Cypress. And I apologize about this. I'm in the middle of the Big Cypress and I'm trying to sing about the Big Cypress. That song is called Smash Hit. And I was talking to some friends and they were saying, what's your favorite one-hit wonder? And, I got to thinking about it and I couldn't come up with one, but really what struck me is how many songs that are played on the radio that are all just one-hit wonders. And think about a one-hit wonder. It's not like that band sat down there and they wrote one song and they're like, oh, we're done. We wrote our song. Or they thought about it for a long time and they finally said, okay, now time to write our one-hit wonder. No, they were at it for, years, sometimes decades. Sometimes they, maybe the first song out of the gate was their song and they could never replicate it. And they might have had an album or three after that people gradually lost interest. And then over time, everybody forgets that all the other songs and they just remember the one-hit wonder. It made me think, Bobby Angel, do I have a one-hit wonder in me? And would that be rewarding? It's like, if you're playing in front of if you go to a campfire and all they want to hear is your one song, you get them playing it and they say, play that song again. It's like, well, I just played it. How about this song? They're like, no, that song's no good. We don't like that song. And they'll cover their ears and they'll, stomp their feet and, they'll throw water in the campfire. No, play your hit. Maybe I don't want to be that guy. And maybe that's why I'm kind of holding back on really writing a good song that really hits it all cylinders, That's something to think about. Let's think about that as we go to the third song. This third song, it's a little bit of a love ballad. Actually, it's a medley. And usually I do ballads, but this medley kind of popped in my head, and it's a little bit of a love song. So without further ado, let's get to it. And here I just have to tune this string a little differently than I normally would. And all right, here we go. It's called Her and There.
Maybe you saw me and maybe you didn't. The best part of life, it is always hidden. You and me will find that treasure, take it to another level. You and I will never settle. Check it out, check it out, check it out. Check it out, check it out, check it out. We'll be flying, we'll be rising over top of the horizon, past the pain and all the dying. Finally we are arriving, we are there, we are there. Yeah, 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 yeah. I met her at the picnic table, a cup of coffee in her hands. She told me we could not stay there, so we went walking out in the sand. The surf splashing at our ankles. Eventually we made the pier and walked until it ended. And then she turned to me and said, we are there. Above the clouds, passing by 35,000 feet in the sky. You know I think about you all of the time. You're always up there in my mind. You're always up there in my mind. Going down to the ground, I wonder if you're still around. I wonder, I wonder, I wonder, I wonder. I'm a wanderer, I'm a plunderer, I'm a wrangler. I am a gambler, I am a rambler, I am a galloper, I am a guzzler, I am a hustler, I am a messenger, and I will not stop until I find her. Has anybody been there lately? Has anybody been there lately? Has anybody been there lately? And if you could you please tell me where she might be? Can anybody tell me? Maybe you saw me and maybe you didn't. The best part of life, it is always hidden. You and me will find that treasure, take it to another level. You and I will never settle. Check it out, check it out, check it out. Check it out, check it out, check it out. We'll be flying, we'll be rising over top of the horizon, past the pain and all the dying. Finally, we are arriving, we are there, we are there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, about this song, you know, when we think about it, I don't know why I wrote this song. It just kind of popped in my head, I think the chord progression, and I had been listening to another song, I think, and I wanted to make a medley. And it kind of is a little bit of a life cycle, thinking back on maybe a former, you know, relationship you had. And I think I was flying up on a plane, and you know, it kind of captures that intermingling of past and present. And I think that happens at the campfire. You know, at the campfire, and you're very much in the present, but you think about the past and how it loops back around. And the present then brings, when you loop back into the past and then to the present at the campfire, the future seems to have these interesting possibilities, you know. And I think, sometimes you want to reach out to people, you know, you used to know in your life and just say hello, hope all is going good, and, you know, maybe have a, you know, but sometimes you can, or sometimes you don't, or sometimes, you know, time slips by and lives move on. And, you know, I'm thinking about that here we are in the middle of the Big Cypress, and I'm talking about my album, Big Cypress Bound, and none of these songs that I sang have anything to do with the Big Cypress, and I do apologize for that. We might have to have another campfire. So, you know, sometimes you have to have a practice campfire to figure out, you know, okay, I won't do that next time. That didn't work. And I remember it was a couple years back, I didn't think about it, but there was a campfire and I brought my electric guitar and I had it plugged in, and it was a generator, you know, and I was like, I need a generator. So I had the generator rumbling and, you know, going, and the amplifier, I couldn't, it either you couldn't hear it or it was too loud. And then that disrupted some campers that were, you know, they were about a mile away, but they were hearing, you know, and they kind of walked over and, you know, they wanted to join the campfire, but then they saw that it was not really the right vibe with the generator and the, you know, so we, you know, that didn't work, but I learned from it, and I usually don't, you know, bring the electric guitar anymore to the campfire, to my campfire shows. So there you have it, folks. You know, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my new album, and I do appreciate you being here around the campfire. And, you know, the campfire is just kind of the beginning of the discussion. So we're going to have another campfire on Big Cypress Bound. It makes me think maybe I need to change the title of the album, but I don't think I am, because I think, as you'll see with some of the other songs, that title really hits the nail on the head, you know, as we say in the carpenter business, you know. But I think on this campfire, I kind of hit my thumb with the hammer, and because I picked 3 songs that didn't, you know, I think they're good songs though. So. That's the thing too, you know, I am a nature folk troubadour, but I'm allowed to, you know, people can be more than one thing, and I think sometimes you end up, you never know when inspiration might strike and what it might strike about. You know, you have to give yourself a chance to to go down those avenues. And I think these songs, they still fit on the album. I think you'll see in the final arrangement that, they're properly placed, and they really make the overarching theme of the album, shine through in a way that wouldn't be possible if every song just focused on a cypress tree. Maybe that'll be my next album. It's just an album on one individual cypress tree, and that'll be a fascinating album. And it could be my one-hit wonder, multiple one-hit wonders, if that's possible. And I think it could be with a cypress tree in the Big Cypress, because they're just so special. And everybody says that when they come out here. And that's kind of what I'm thinking around this campfire. So thanks so much for, I'm just going to stare in the campfire for a while and think about that for a little bit. Thanks so much for being with me around the campfire. We're campfire, inspired and guitar guaranteed. With the Campfire Bobby Angel, you're always going to hear some crackling and some of the campfire and some of the strumming and some songs. We just kind of talk about, different things. So thanks for being here in the middle of the Big Cypress, and we'll talk to you soon. Well, I'm just going to strum the guitar a little here, so feel free to hang around, and we'll talk to you soon.